Hello everyone and welcome to the Waffle Flower channel. It's Shannon here, and today I'm going to be showing you a unique watercolor background. I've got the two stamp sets out that I'm using today. So two envelope or stamp sets. I'll use those later. And I got a piece of watercolor paper here. It's actually 5.5 by 7.5, so that's going to be my panel. I'm going to paint on that today. And I've got my cheap watercolor paints here. I got those at Michael's for probably a little bit over $4. And I'm using this brush today. It's a flat brush, clearly well used and loved. Nothing fancy, but you do want something that's a bit wider. That brush is a 1/2 of an inch wide. It's going to work really well for my A7 card, that this will turn into when it's all done. If you're making an A2 card, maybe a 1/4 of an inch brush, it'd be better for you, but you definitely try both. I'm mixing my water and my paint here. I'm trying to use as little water as I possibly can. I don't want this to get too oversaturated with water or too wet. I want my paints to dry really quickly, as fast as they can. So I'm just being really careful not to mix lots of water in there with my paint. Plus I want my colors to be nice and intense and vibrant too. And I'm just doing short strokes, as you can see here. Starting with my lightest color, which was yellow, and I'm just kind of spreading them around randomly throughout my panel. My watercolor paper I'm using today is Strathmore. I bought a 3-pack when they were on sale at Michael's. It was buy one get two free, so I still have some I'm working through. The pads are 11 by 15, so that's what when I cut a sheet up for my A7 cards, I get 4 panels that are 5.5 by 7.5. So that's why the panel is that size. And because you can see right there, I'm cleaning up a little mistake there. Both paints were still a little wet when and they overlapped a little bit, so the orange kind of bled into the yellow. And I just cleaned it up by cleaning my brush, drying it on the towel, and then picking up that orange pigment with my brush. So that, again, that's another reason why to try to keep my paints a little bit on the dry side, because I don't want them to be doing a lot of bleeding and mixing for this card. I want the colors to kind of stay separate and intense on their own. No mixing and blending for this one. So watercolor backgrounds, definitely nothing new. We've seen them a lot lately in the card world, especially smushed backgrounds or smushed ink backgrounds and gradation backgrounds, even stripes and plaids with watercolor paper or with watercolor paints. So this is just a little bit a different version of that. This is I'm calling this short strokes background. It's going to have a more of a dappled look when it's all done, and it's a great technique or a great background idea when you want to incorporate lots of colors, because I'm going to, in total, I think I'm going to get like 7 colors on here. I didn't count them, but I get a lot of colors on here. I'm basically doing the whole rainbow. So I'll have lots of colors on this when I'm all done. Going through the whole entire rainbow. So what's great, so when you're doing lots of colors, this is great for if you like to enter color challenges. You can definitely get all your colors all in your background and then have a simple sentiment or image. So this is a great idea if you like to enter color challenges. Also, it works really well for any occasion, because you just change the colors, and it can be a more masculine card, lighter, more pastels. It could be a great baby card. So this is a fun one to have in your bag of tricks, doing this, or at least in your background bag of tricks. Okay, so now moving on to the green here. And I'm not being too careful. I like the organic, kind of somewhat messy look of this. If you really like really neat straight lines, everything really tidy, you may not want to try this technique. It might drive you crazy, but I can go back and forth, and I like the loose strokes and the overlapping of colors. So, and I definitely like getting lots of colors on here. I think that's fun. Make something really bright. I think I'm on a color kick right now, especially with the last video I did. It did lots of colors, played around with lots of different color palettes. I think I'm still stuck in that zone, so I apologize while I'm working through my color fetish right now, guys. And I do at the end I'll show you a couple other cards that I made with some different color palettes. This of course is rainbow, because Who doesn't love rainbow, right? And I'm leaving a couple, like I said, I'm not being too careful here. I'm leaving little white spots here and there. I like that little bit of negative space. So I'm not concerned about covering up every single white space or negative space. If you're really worried about that, you can definitely overlap your colors more and make sure there's no white spaces, but I'm not too concerned. You might have to dry more in between, and I haven't dried it all. Like, you can see how quickly my paints are drying and kind of gauge by that how little water is really in my paints. Okay, so that's all done. I'm going to let that dry a little bit more, but that panel is done. Lots of colors on there, very bright. All right, now I'm going to move on to my image and sentiment. I've got the Lacy Squares dies. These are new. They came out in January. The largest square cut's a 5 1/4 inch square. I'm using this smaller square within the set to cut a smaller square that I will put my image and sentiment on. I'm using the Enveloper Choice and Enveloper Hello stamp sets. They're right there. I'm going to use the lion from the Enveloper Choice. Isn't he so cute? And I'm going to use a sentiment that heartfelt thanks from the Enveloper Hello stamp set. And I've already got those images and that image and sentiment mounted in my MISTI. On that square, my cardstock, that square panel, I'm just put some anti-static powder on it, and then I'm now inking up my image and sentiment with my embossing ink, because I'm going to gold emboss this. I'm doing something, my sentiment image are going to be really simple, clean and simple, because I have such a colorful background. I'm going to keep my sentiment image very simple. Okay, so I'm using Recollections Gold here. Just going to pour that on and tap it off, and then I'll heat set it. Look at how cute that is. That lion is super adorable, isn't he? Okay, so that's all heat set. You can see nice and shiny, really pretty. I'm using the Lacy Layers 5x7. This also came out in the January release. And to cut my panel down to a 5x7 stitched rectangle. So I'm just showing you that stitched edge there. Okay, so I'm going to mount those two together, but I'm going to use some craft foam. I'm going to add dimension to that image and sentiment with the craft foam. But first, before I do anything, I'm going to mount my panel onto my card base. Now, my card base is slightly bigger, so it's really like 7 1/4 by 5 1/4, because I wanted a small border of white around that watercolor background panel. And yes, I'm still using glue sticks. I must be a creature of habit, but I still have some. So maybe when I've used up all my glue sticks, maybe I will switch to something else. But I'm sorry if you don't like the glue sticks. I'm still using them, but they work. They've been working well for me. So they're just a little bit messy. All right, so I got my panel on there. Now I'm going to adhere the sentiment and little lion onto that craft foam that I pre-trimmed, and then I'll adhere that onto my card. And that's it. Very simple, but when you have such a, so much going on in the background, it's nice to be able to, just balance it out with that very simple image and sentiment. And it also has a kind of a really modern look, but also I think it's kind of looks like 1960s, 70s, reminiscent of that to me. That lion reminds me of It's a Small World ride. I don't know why, but it definitely reminds me of that. Okay, so here's some other cards that I made with different color palettes. So that's a blue-green. I think that would be great for maybe a congratulations for a baby boy card. And this one I went kind of crazy and I did purples and orange and pink, but I dig it. I think it's a fun. I was just experimenting with the colors. So that's all 3 cards. So if you would like any product info on any of the products I used, please visit waffleflower.com, and you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day.